The last Padres game. Preview today's starting pitching matchup. Give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today, the Padres take on the Pittsburgh Pirates in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Pirates, right-hander Paul Skeens, and for the Padres, right-hander Nick Pivetta. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 3:40 p.m. here on the West Coast. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. We go to PNC Park, check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler in just a little bit. Our keys to today's game, full breakdown of our starting pitching matchup, and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Well, the Padres entered today 5-5. They've won 3 straight games in 4 of their last 5. Padres at 500 for the first time this season. Today, a chance to move above 500 for the first time and also pick up a second consecutive series win. Meanwhile, the Pirates come in 6-4. They had a 5-game win streak snap last night. Nick Pivetta making his 3rd start of the season tonight, while the Padres face last year's National League Cy Young Award winner Paul Skeens for the first time ever. Series opener last night in Pittsburgh. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
We had a scoreless game in the top of the 4th inning. Padres put 2 on base against Pirates starter Bubba Chandler. Nick Castellanos at the plate.
2 on and 2 out. First pitch swinging, line drive, base hit into left field. That will get Manny Machado home with the first run of the day. Sheets on his way to 3rd. Castellanos standing at 2nd. And the Padres ahead 1-0 here in the 4th.
Padres had a 1-0 lead after 4. They got something going again in the top of the 5th inning. There were runners on 1st and 2nd, 1 down for Jackson Merrill.
1-0 Padres. Jackson swings at the first pitch, sends it in the air to left center field. Long run, Reynolds into the gap. Still going back, reaches out, can't make the catch. It hits on the warning track, bounces over the wall. Laureano will come in to score on the rulebook double to make it 2-0.
Padres got another run on a ground out for Manny Machado to make it 3-0. Meanwhile, German Marquez was really solid in his second start with the Padres. 5 scoreless innings, 6 hits given up. He struck out 4, walked 1 at 92 pitches. He left in line for the win. Padres then put together a 2-out rally against Pirates reliever Johan Ramirez in the 6th inning. Freddie Fermin hit a 2-out double. Jake Cronenworth was next.
2-1. Cronenworth hits it in the air, deep down the right field line, towards the big wall, and off the base of the wall. Fermin will come in to score. Cronenworth at his second base. It's an RBI double, and the Padre lead is now 4-0.
Ron Marinaccio pitched 2 scoreless innings in relief. Padres still led 4-0. Going to the 8th inning, a runner on base for Ramon Laureano.
Here's Laureano, first pitch swinging, in the air up the right field line, towards the corner. That's a fair ball up against the base of the wall. Fermin is at 3rd. He's being waved. The throw went to 2nd, and Fermin will come in to score. The Padre lead is 5-0.
David Morgan pitched the scoreless bottom of the 8th inning. He was back on the mound in a 5-0 game in the 9th.
Sheets now backs up behind Horwitz. He does not run. Mangum tries to bunt for a hit. It goes right back to Morgan. Pitcher fires to first in time, and the ball game's over. Padres have shut out the Pittsburgh Pirates 5-0. They have won 3 in a row, 4 out of their last 5, and they have ended the Pirates' 5-game winning streak.
A 7-hit shutout between 5 innings from German Marquez, 2 innings out of the bullpen from Ron Marinaccio, 2 scoreless innings from David Morgan. Padres pitching their second shutout win of the season, improving to 5-5 on the year. And now today in the middle game of this 3-game series in Pittsburgh, they go for a 4th consecutive win. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 3:40, let's go out to PNC Park.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview. on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Jesse, let's begin with the weather. It is so cold on the East Coast today that a number of games were actually moved up to accommodate the players and the fans because of the very frigid weather. That obviously didn't happen in Pittsburgh, but from what I understand, it is very, very cold in Pittsburgh nonetheless.
Yes, it is. 39 degrees, according to the scoreboard in left field. And I would imagine that is only going to go down as the evening progresses. Good news is we have a couple of hours of daylight left, so the sun will hopefully make it feel a little bit nicer than it's going to feel later in the evening. But it will be, when all is said and done, I imagine, one of the coldest games in Padre history. So we've got that going for us.
Well, it's very cold. However, we have, I suppose you could call, a very hot pitching matchup here tonight with Nick Pivetta and Paul Skeens. It's one ace against another. Paul Skeens, as good as it gets in the National League, reigning Cy Young Award winner. Obviously, Nick Pivetta, a top 6 finisher in the Cy Young voting last season. We always talk about these marquee pitching matchups, Jesse, and this early in the season is about as good as it gets. This should be a fun one tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I mean, we've been waiting a couple of years to see Paul Skeens. We being Tony and I don't know that the Padre hitters would all say the same thing, but, he just kind of kept missing the Padres each of his first 2 major league seasons. It's been a weird start to the year for Skeens. World Baseball Classic, then that opening day start at Citi Field in which he didn't get out of the first inning. So he's not necessarily stretched all the way out. Even his last outing against the Reds, he only went 5 innings. So, you're not necessarily getting full bore Paul Skeens workload-wise here tonight. But nonetheless, we should get a little bit of the Paul Skeens experience here today. And with Pivetta, he was all fired up on opening day, did not look like himself, and did very much look like himself last time out against the Giants on Wednesday afternoon. So really is, a couple of opening day starters, a couple of guys who really know how to pitch. Obviously, they go about it very different ways. But, to me, that's baseball at its best. You get a couple of starting pitchers who really know what they're doing. You got to figure offense is going to be at a premium, particularly with the weather like this. And, it's one of those games where one little thing could decide it.
Yeah, and to your point about Paul Skeens, he threw 77 pitches in 5 innings last Wednesday in Cincinnati, so it's not like he's going to go out there today and throw 110, right? So if you can make him work, you have an opportunity with Skeens tonight to maybe get him out of the game relatively early. It's been a nice couple of days for the Padres offense, Jesse. First time they've put together back-to-back games of double-digit hits. Your impression the last couple of wins, what this Padres offense continues to do?
Yeah, I think continues is a good word to use because it's not just the last 2 days. And obviously the 11 hits last night and the 12 hits in Boston on Sunday afternoon. But, look, I'm very fortunate in that I get to sit next to a guy every single game who knows an awful lot about baseball and in particular about hitting. And, Tony would tell me both on and off the air the first few days, hey, the approach is really, really good. And even for a guy like Jake Cronenworth or Freddie Fermin, who it seemed like couldn't buy a hit, the first 6-7 games, whatever it was, he was telling me, these guys need to stay with it because what they're doing is good enough. And they weren't getting results. The batting averages looked really ugly up on the scoreboard. But Tony was insistent to me, and Craig Stammen was saying the same things after these games, that these guys need to just keep doing what they are doing. And that's really hard early in the season because you don't really have hits banked, right, to keep the batting average looking okay on the scoreboard. Right. So it can look ugly up there. You can certainly start to press, but these guys did stay with it, and now all of a sudden some of the results are starting to come. Jake had a nice night last night, got his first extra base hit of the season, and so I think, what's happening is sort of the math is catching up to the approach that the Padres have had. We saw them really take very good at-bats all spring long in Peoria. You necessarily don't know what that's going to mean come the regular season, but that approach has stayed consistent in the regular season. They didn't get the results the first week or so, and now they're starting to get the results. And I think any hitting coach in baseball will tell you, if you maintain the approach, if you have consistent approach and attack, you're going to eventually get the results, especially over the course of the very, very long season. And that's what we've been seeing.
It's almost like baseball is a game that is not very much about the small sample size. It is about the 162. Feels like we're starting to see that for the Padres offense. They've scored 25 runs in their past 5 games. So 5 runs per game, that's a pretty good way to live. Jesse, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 3:30 p.m. here in San Diego. Thanks so much. Stay warm.
You got it. You know what? Somebody actually said to me today, and I never heard this one before. They said it's a marathon, not a sprint.
There you go. I like it. All right. Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for the middle game of this 3-game series. Again, we have a marquee pitching matchup here today. Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates. He will make his first ever start for the Pirates against the Padres. Felt like the last couple of years, Skeens was ducking the Padres. No, I'm just joking. Just the way the rotation kind of fell out in all the series. But we wanted that matchup so bad in 2024 when Merrill and Skeens were going back and forth for NL Rookie of the Year. We never got it. Well, guess what? Here tonight, we're finally going to get that Skeens-Merrill matchup and much, much more. And Nick Pivetta on the other side of things for the Padres. So a very good starting pitching matchup as the Padres go for a 4th consecutive win. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. Plus, a little bit later, we have all the injury updates for you. We have the full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our keys to today's game, and much, much more. First pitch coming up at 3:40 from Pittsburgh right here on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 3:40 p.m. here on the West Coast in Pittsburgh as the Padres play the middle game of this 3-game series against the Pirates. Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates, Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can find me on social media at Sammy Lev on both X and Instagram, at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. DMs are open on IG. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from, and if you have a key to today's game, let me know what it is, and I may just read it here on the air. If you're part of the YouTube audience on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel, you can also comment in the chat on YouTube, and I may read that comment live here on the air. Taking a look at the Padres lineup here today, it looks like this. Ramon Laureano in left field leading off. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field batting second. Jackson Merrill in center batting third. Manny Machado at third base batting cleanup. Xander Bogarts at shortstop batting 5th, Gavin Sheets at first base batting 6th, Miguel Andujar, the DH, batting 7th, Freddie Fermin behind the plate doing the catching and batting 8th, and Jake Cronenworth at second base batting 9th. One guy who is out of the Pirates lineup today, I found this really fascinating taking a look at the Pirates lineup. Marcell Ozuna, who is off to a brutal start with the Pirates, batting just .065 and 31 at bats. In fact, he does not yet have an RBI this season. However, in my pregame prep this morning, I'm writing down numbers and I see Marcell Ozuna is 8 for 33 with 6 home runs in his career against Nick Pivetta, the most home runs Pivetta has allowed to any hitter, and Ozuna's most home runs he has against any pitcher in his career. So then when I see this lineup for the Pirates today, no Marcell Ozuna for a guy who's struggling that badly. I was kind of shocked, but I suppose that's a good thing today for Nick Pivetta. Ozuna has given him a ton of trouble, but Pirates kept Ozuna out of the lineup today. So just a little lineup note for the Pirates as we get ready for the middle game of this 3-game series. Again, a great starting pitching matchup between Pivetta and Skeens. As we get ready for this one, let's hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Craig, we talked about some 2-out damage. You guys been doing something last year.
Yeah, we've talked about working together to score runs, and part of that is passing the baton to the guy behind you and trusting him and him being able to get the job done. And so last night was a good example of that, and us get a couple big hits that got our lead going a little bit and let us increase it and then finish the game.
Yeah, you've talked about that now a couple of times of just hitting as a unit and really what's best for the team and passing the baton along. What finally do you think is getting that to happen? Because I know it's something that you talk about in spring training as well, but it seems like it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, I think this is player driven. Like, they want to do that. That's how they've, talked about this team being successful, and it's what they talk about in the hitters meeting. So, got to give credit to the players, and then they're the ones executing it too. It's one thing to say it, but go out and do it too.
Schemes going tonight, a little different than what you faced last night in terms of the approach. It seemed like last night, a lot of pitches up in the zone that you had to try to get him down. A little bit different scenario tonight. How difficult is that for an offense to just flip the switch like that? I mean, I know that's what they do, but still, it's pretty extreme situations with these two guys.
Right. Welcome to the big leagues. I think they're similar in that they throw really hard, but different in that, Paul's got a few more pitches that he can go to and that he trusts that are, plus pitches, and he can pitch down the zone and up in the zone. So he's just a more polished pitcher. Both are good. Both are good challenges for our offense. And, there's nothing better than facing the best. That's the best part about the big leagues is mano a mano, your best against my best, and see what happens.
As far as what your approach has been the last few games, it seems like you guys have been disciplined in terms of what the game plan was, being able to execute it, especially against the opposing starters. How much does that help going up against the guys dominant schemes, knowing that you've already been sort of establishing that the last few games?
Yeah, we've done a good job of that going back to spring training. And some days it works out and some days it doesn't quite work out. But, they're focused, they're disciplined, and they're very talented. And I think all those three things together, make up for a solid offense over the course of 162.
Yeah, Nick was so solid in his last outing. What do you think the biggest difference was, or was it just simply getting some of the butterflies out?
Yeah, no butterfly, not as many butterflies in the stomach maybe, but I also think, sometimes when you get your teeth knocked in a little bit, it allows you to refocus and get back to work and then really focus on what matters and getting out there and executing pitches and throwing strikes. And that's what he did last outing.
How much do you think it gets into a pitcher's mind? Maybe it did in yours, I'm not sure, but when you're facing a guy as dominant on the other side, do you feel like you have to up your game, or does that get distracting and trying to do things maybe that you're not capable of? Where's that balance?
Yeah, you can only be who you are and be the best version of yourself. And different games are different. Every starting pitcher in the big leagues is tough, and so you've got to go out and play your best also. I think when you're going up against an ace, and Nick was our opening day starter, you want to keep your team in the game, and sometimes when you're facing somebody really good on their side, it's about not giving up runs. So, you can't tell a pitcher, don't give up any runs. That's impossible. But if he goes out, thinks about executing his pitches, one pitch at a time, be a little one-pitch warrior as we go throughout the game, he'll be just fine.
go back to Sunday, Gavin had that run off the bench and double, and you tacked on a pretty important insurance run. You have some bats on your bench on a pretty nightly basis that do that type of thing. What does that do for you as a manager? And also, like, did you maybe expect to be doing it a little bit more than you have? There has been a ton of situations like that you have the capability.
Yeah, we do have the capability of doing that. I think we could do more of it, but the game always kind of dictates that. And who you're facing on the mound dictates a lot of that stuff too. So it's not going to be like no matter what, Gavin's not facing a lefty. He did pretty well against lefties last year too. So there's, you're weighing a lot of those different things and all those different decisions. But having a good bench makes you really comfortable about putting anybody in the lineup, and then having somebody that can back them up in a certain type of matchup.
Obviously, first year as manager. Now that you've been through spring training a couple of weeks of the season, what are your impressions of just the job? Is it what you thought it would be, or like anything that kind of was different that maybe you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I would say it's all different and all the same at the same time. It's like, everything every day brings a new challenge, and definitely testing my leadership skills and communication skills and relationship skills on a daily basis. There's just no days off. You got to, bring it every day and bring the energy. But I think I expected that also. And, it's also been I've learned a lot of things in the last, since beginning of spring training, which has been a lot of fun for me, to test those things out, try new things, and then learn and try to get better from it.
What is your process of evaluating your own decisions after games and then learning from them?
Yeah. I think, I never was somebody that wrote things down before. I'm writing a lot more things down now. It's helping me, one, move on from things and not beat myself up about it. And the other part is I can learn from it too and decide, I can make a little spray chart. If I made one decision, it goes this way, but make another decision would have gone a different way. And then just try to map it out and then look at both of them and be like, all right, which one do I like better in hindsight, or which one do I like better in the moment? I think those are things that I'm just thinking about, talking with Randy and the rest of the coaching staff, talking about the AJ, also, just trying to make this the best process that we can make it. As long as you have a good process, you can live with the decisions you have. And so I'm just trying to tighten up that process a little bit.
That was Padres manager Craig Stammen earlier today inside the Padres dugout at PNC Park. We'll hear more from Craig on our post-game coverage coming up later on this evening. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres radio network.
KWFN-FM and KWFN-HD1 San Diego.
This is Jake Cronenworth. Padres play here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
An Odyssey sports station.
Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 3:40 p.m. here on the West Coast. Middle game of this 3-game series between the Padres and Pirates. Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates and Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres. We send things out to Jesse Ackler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just about 25 minutes as we continue to walk you up towards first pitch. As always, our pregame coverage brought to you by EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. That's 760-350-3338. We'll get to some headlines from around the major leagues in a moment. Couple of keys to the game from you out there. As always, you can chime in on social media at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV on X or Instagram. You can also comment in the YouTube stream. Couple of YouTube comments. We have Luis in Mission Hills saying, his key, rattle Skeens early, swing early in the count. All right, Luis, an aggressive approach you want to see tonight. We've got Frank saying the key today is all about a balanced approach at the plate. We need to punish mistakes, but it is imperative that we get the pitch count high and not let them get deep in the game. All right, Frank, a little bit of a different offensive approach from you. We've got on Instagram, a DM here from Kevin in Wilmington, North Carolina. Kevin saying the key today is keeping the Pirates off the board while Pivetta faces Skeens. Scratch out 1 to 2 runs early, then light it up once their bullpen comes in. I think all the keys could work here tonight. Obviously, a very tough customer on the mound on the other side in right-hander Paul Skeens, the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, we have frigid temperatures for much of the eastern part of the United States today. The Guardians, White Sox, and Mets all moved up their start times today to try to avoid the very cold evening temperatures. How about this? 8 out of the 15 sites today, ballparks today, where games are being played, could see first pitch temperatures below 50 degrees. So over half of Major League Baseball could be playing in very, very cold weather. It's going to be cold in Pittsburgh. They didn't move the time of the game up, but it's going to be a cold one in Pittsburgh and a lot of other places dealing with those cold temperatures today. A lot of injury news around baseball last 24 hours or so. Blue Jays all-star catcher Alejandro Kirk had surgery on his fractured left thumb. He's expected to miss about 6 weeks. Kirk suffered that injury on a foul tip on Friday against the White Sox. He was placed on the 10-day IL, then visited with a hand specialist who recommended he have surgery. Cubs had a big blow to their starting rotation. Starting pitcher Cade Horton, who was so good in his rookie season last year, he will have season-ending surgery to repair the UCL in his right elbow. The 24-year-old was placed on the 15-day IL on Sunday with what at the time the team called a forearm strain. He will miss the remainder of 2026. Astros ace Hunter Brown has been diagnosed with a grade 2 right shoulder strain, and he'll be kept from throwing for a few weeks. That news coming just a couple of days after Brown was placed on the 15-day IL. The Diamondbacks put first baseman Carlos Santana on the IL today. He is the oldest active position player in the major leagues. He is down with a right adductor strain. Diamondbacks manager Torey Lovullo said he didn't know the severity of the strain, but expected the 39-year-old to be sidelined beyond the 10-day minimum. And finally, Orioles right-hander Zach Eflin out right now with a right elbow issue. He's in the process of getting a second opinion. He has been transferred to the 60-day IL. So at the very least, Eflin will be out for quite a bit of time. And that's a look at some of the headlines from today around the major leagues. A lot of injury news around the majors from earlier today and yesterday. When we come back, we take a look at our keys to today's game. And speaking of injury news, we'll give you the full update on all the guys working their way back right now from a Padres standpoint. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard and a full breakdown of a great starting pitching matchup tonight between Nick Pivetta and Paul Skeens. Much, much more to do on our pregame coverage. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Moving and grooving on a Tuesday afternoon here in San Diego. Padres baseball coming up as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates in the middle game of this 3-game series. First pitch at 3:40. We send things out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in under 20 minutes. Still a lot to do on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. We'll have our keys to today's game in just a bit. Take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. But first, let's take a look at today's injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, from a Padres standpoint, no injury news that's pressing regarding today's game or this series right now, which is a good thing. From the Pirates standpoint, they put infielder Jared Triolo on the IL over the weekend with a right knee patellar tendon injury. He will miss at least a few weeks. On the Padres side of things, we continue to keep you updated on what's going on with all these guys that are very close to returning. Let's go through the list. Right-hander Jason Adam, 3 scoreless rehab appearances with AAA El Paso, including back-to-back appearances over the weekend. Right-hander Griffin Canning, 2 innings and a third for AAA El Paso over the weekend. He is currently in a spring training-like build-up. Left-hander Yuki Matsui, he's on rehab assignment with AAA El Paso, pitched over the weekend. Matt Waldron has made two rehab starts with AAA El Paso of 3 and 4 innings, and Sungmoon Song still on rehab assignment as well. You guessed it, with AAA El Paso. He has played in 8 games. So all those guys right now rehabbing at AAA. We shall see what the updates continue to be. Jason Adam, it has sounded like is very close. Sounds like there's a real chance it could come in the next few days, his return to the major leagues. We'll see, but that's a quick look at what everybody's doing from a Padres standpoint. Number of guys working their way back. And as we alluded to yesterday, it'll be interesting to see what the Padres do as far as roster moves when, let's say, a guy like Jason Adam is ready. You've got guys in the bullpen like Aron Marinaccio, who is out of options. You've got a guy in the bullpen like Bradley Rodriguez, who has options, but has been so good in the early part of this season. Going to be interesting to see what the corresponding moves are moving forward, but obviously getting a reliever the caliber of Jason Adam back, that will be a very, very good thing for the Padres bullpen. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of games going on right now because, as we said earlier, a lot of teams moving up their start times today due to the cold weather. Guardians already beat the Royals today 2-1 in Cleveland. Games going on right now: Orioles 4, White Sox 2 in the 9th inning in Chicago. Diamondbacks have a 3-2 lead against the Mets in New York in the 7th inning. Everything else coming up in a little bit or later on this evening. Cubs and the Rays in Tampa Bay at 3:40. Reds and the Marlins at 3:40 in Miami. Brewers and the Red Sox at 3:45 at Fenway. Cardinals and the Nationals in D.C. at 3:45. A's and the Yankees in the Bronx at 4:05. Dodgers in Toronto against the Blue Jays at 4:07. Tigers and the Twins at 4:40 in Minnesota. Mariners and the Rangers in Arlington at 5:05. Astros and the Rockies in Colorado, 5:40 start time there. Angels host the Braves in Anaheim at 6:38. And finally, Phillies and the Giants at 6:45 in San Francisco. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday. Much more on all those games coming up in our post-game coverage later on this evening. First pitch coming up at 3:40 in Pittsburgh. Padres going for a 4th straight win, a 2nd consecutive series win, and trying to make it 5 wins in 6 games. Let's take a look at how they can do that with our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game on the Padres Radio Network.
Key number 1, make Skeens work. Paul Skeens threw just 37 pitches on opening day. When he didn't make it out of the first inning against the Mets, he threw 77 pitches in 5 innings on Wednesday in Cincinnati. So you look at his pitch counts, 37 and 77. I'll guarantee you, Skeens is not throwing 110 pitches or something like that tonight. So what does that mean? Well, if you make them work, even if you don't score much, can you work long at bats against them and just get them out of the game? You have a chance to do that if you just make them work tonight. That's key number one. Key number two, keep touching home. The Padres offense was really quiet in the first week of the season, but there's no doubt that they've started to come around. The Padres scored just 12 runs in their first 5 games of the season, but they've now scored 25 runs in their past 5 games combined. You do the math, 25 divided by 5, that's 5 runs per game. You score 5 runs per game, you're going to be A-OK. Padres also have back-to-back games of double-digit hits. So key number 2, just keep that offense cooking. Keep moving in that offensive direction that has been productive the last few days. Key number 2. Key number 3, don't let Griffin get going. I'm talking about Connor Griffin, the number 1 prospect in baseball, shortstop for the Pirates, who made his major league debut last week. Now 4 games into his career, since doubling in his first at-bat in the major leagues, he's now over his last 12 with 4 strikeouts. So don't let Griffin, who is really talented, he's just 19 years old, don't let him start to figure it out tonight or in this series. That's key number 3. Key number 4, more Manny. Manny Machado, 3 for 8 with a home run and 4 RBIs over the last 2 days. Machado, and this is weird, he has just 4 at-bats so far this season through 10 games with runners in scoring position. So you got to get guys on in front of him. I'm going to come back to that in our next segment. Tell you why maybe Manny's not hitting with guys in scoring position as much as you would think. But again, 3 hits and a home run, 4 RBIs last 2 days. Key number 4, more Manny. Key number 5, no hits for O'Hearn and O'Neill. Ryan O'Hearn doubled and walked in 4 plate appearances against his former team, the Padres, last night. He's reached base safely in each of his first 9 games with the Pirates, hitting .364 with 3 home runs and 11 RBIs in that span. In fact, O'Hearn has driven in 11 of the Pirates' 45 runs this season. That's nearly 25% of their runs scored as a team. So Ryan O'Hearn, keeping him in check, that's half of the key. The other half of the key, O'Neill Cruz, who's been great as of late in the midst of a 6-game hitting streak, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs in that 6-game hit streak. O'Hearn and O'Neill Cruz, got to limit them today. And key number 6, play from ahead for a couple of reasons. Number 1, if you're the Padres, you have the game's best reliever right now in Mason Miller. He struck out 11 of the 15 batters he's faced this season, 28 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings, including the postseason. Going back to August 6th of last year, he struck out 62% of hitters faced in that span. He is dominant. He is electric, and if you hand him a lead, there's a very good chance you're going home with a win. But the second reason, you don't want to be behind against Pirates closer Dennis Santana, who has thrown 6 scoreless innings to begin the year. And in fact, if you go back to August 8th of last season, he has a 0.99 ERA. So you don't want to face him if you're trailing late in the game. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Pirates and the Padres. When we come back, we take a much deeper dive into today's pitching matchup between Nick Pivetta and Paul Skeens. First pitch coming up at 3:40 in Pittsburgh, right here on the Padres Radio Network. For EcoWater SoCal, Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up at 3:40 in Pittsburgh. We'll take a full look at today's starting pitching matchup between Nick Pivetta and Paul Skeens in just a little bit. We send things out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in under 8 minutes. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play beginning at 3:40 on a very chilly night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Not chilly here in San Diego. It's a beautiful day overlooking Murphy Canyon from inside our San Diego studios. Looks like traffic is moving very nicely right now on the 15, so all is well here in San Diego, and we'll watch it from warm San Diego. The Padres playing in Pittsburgh tonight. Let's tell you what to watch for in the middle game of this 3-game set.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
During our Keys to the Game segment, I talked about Manny Machado, and I said Manny has just 4 at-bats with runners in scoring position so far this season. One reason why that is the Padres are not getting production out of their leadoff spot. Now, Ramon Laureano, who's back in that leadoff spot today, he did have a hit and an RBI out of that spot last night. But overall, the leadoff spot has been an issue for this Padres offense. Fernando Tatis Jr. has hit there 5 times. Jake Cronenworth 3 times. And Laureano makes his 3rd start in that spot tonight. Padres leadoff hitters have combined to bat 122 with a 182 on base percentage so far this season and 41 at-bats. Their 353 OPS from that leadoff spot is worse than the major leagues. So it's imperative that whoever is in that number 1 spot in the lineup starting tonight's game and so on, that they're more productive out of that leadoff spot. That's one of the reasons that Manny is not getting very many RBI opportunities right now. So what to watch for in today's game and also moving forward into the rest of this week. Can the Padres, whoever is hitting leadoff, can they get more production from that leadoff spot? That's what to watch for here tonight. And obviously the microscope on Ramon Laureano in that spot here tonight against the Pirates. What a pitching matchup. Paul Skeens for the Buccos. It's Nick Pivetta for the Padres. Let's dive in.
Let's break down how today's starters are shaping up with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates, 23 years old, the 2024 National League Rookie of the Year, a 1.96 ERA as a rookie, the 2025 National League Cy Young Award winner, a 1.97 ERA in 32 starts last season, 216 strikeouts in 187-plus innings. Skeens is making his first home start of the season tonight. He's 12-6 with a 2.10 ERA in 27 career starts at PNC Park. Pirates are 17-10 in those games. Skeens struggled on opening day, gave up 5 runs, and did not escape the first inning against the Mets, albeit there was some very shaky defense behind him. He bounced back with 5 strong innings in Cincinnati last week, gave up 1 run on 3 hits, striking out 5. Padres facing Paul Skeens for the very first time here tonight. And finally, we get that Jackson Merrill against Paul Skeens matchup. We felt here in San Diego like Merrill should have won Rookie of the Year in 2024. Well, opportunity to get some revenge for Mr. Merrill here tonight. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Nick Pivetta, 33 years old. He finished 6th in National League Cy Young Award voting last season. 1-1 with a 6.75 ERA through 2 starts this season. First start against the Tigers, not a great one. 3 innings, 6 earned runs given up, 7 hits. His second start against the Giants, a lot better. 5 scoreless innings, 1 hit allowed. He struck out 8. Pivetta has a 1.50 ERA in his last 3 starts against the Pirates. One of those was last season as a Padre in San Diego, gave up 2 runs in 6 innings in May of last year. He has not pitched at PNC Park since 2022 when he was a member of the Boston Red Sox. Last start he had at PNC, 7 scoreless innings in August of 2022. And that's a look at a great starting pitching matchup tonight. Nick Pivetta for the Padres and Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Padres entered today 5-5. Pirates are 6-4. Padres looking for a fourth consecutive win, looking to make it 5 wins in 6 games. And the Padres are looking to move above 500 for the very first time this season. We'll see if they can do it in Pittsburgh tonight. When we come back, it's Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.